Oh, this is just funny. Some like AI token deployer. Again, kind of related to the concept of how much work it takes. Like none of these are gonna. I mean, maybe the first one. I don't know, but
interesting. AI are coming for memecoin creators' jobs. Oh no,
it's not a good sign if you can't choose a name, a ticker, the supply. I don't know.
We got a great show for you today. Josh is calling in from an all-inclusive somewhere in Central American country that he's been. I don't know.
Last 2 days, I'm back to probably a snowy Montreal pretty soon.
It snowed in Montreal. I have a friend who's there, and it literally looks like winter.
Still snowing. That's why you gotta run away. It's the only way to get through this part of it.
You haven't fully escaped winter though, so when you're coming back to it, that's okay. That's good. And Peace, you're caffeinated, hydrated, ready to click some buttons.
Full blown. Let's log in.
All right, Josh. I'll throw it over to you to introduce our next guest, and we'll dive in.
Yeah, this is an exciting one. So obviously, actually, I think we talked about it on the show last week. Degen Chain launched, kind of partnership between Degen, the community, Jacek, the dev founder, kind of person at the center of it, and Syndicate, who kind of powered all the infrastructure and tech behind it. So very, lucky and excited to have both of them on the show today. Maybe I'll pull them up right now. And really just, excited to dig into both like the thinking behind it. And I know it's kind of a fun little story on how it actually ended up happening. And, we've had a week since launch and some of the metrics look pretty insane. I think across a bunch of them, Degen's like a top 10 chain overall, including, all L1s and all L2s, which is just such a wild concept. So would love to just jump right in. Maybe like before we specifically get into L3 stuff, Jacek, I'd love to just do like a check-in, like a feelings check-in on what the last 3 months has been like for you. Cause first time I'm talking to you and I just need to know where your head's at on the state of Degen and how wild this ride has been.
Yeah, man, it's been totally crazy. Like, I don't even know what's going on, to be honest. It's just been kind of like flying, and it's a good thing. And now you're mentioning that Degen is, I guess, a top 10 chain or something. That's kind of like, I haven't even had a chance to kind of be like on that to even see like a ranking or anything. So that's the first time I'm hearing that. And that sounds crazy, for that to even be happening. And then obviously the token is doing really well in terms of like popularity. So, I don't know. It's like wild, and it kind of feels like surreal almost in a way. And just trying to take it like in steps and figure out like what the next moves are. I do realize we're in this sort of like bull cycle, want to take advantage of it and do as much as we can so that when things kind of maybe taper off, who knows, maybe next year, I don't know when that will happen, but just to set up a good foundation, a good base, and hopefully just keep going. So it's been wild for sure.
I love the calmness you've been able to maintain through this is admirable. I think so. Some of the metrics I was looking at yesterday, I think the chain has processed 15 plus million transactions, almost 1 million active addresses on the chain. $60 million has been bridged, and it's averaging over $100 million in volume. And I think, $100 million volume puts in like a top, or daily volume puts in like a top 5 chain, which is just wild. So maybe let's jump into.
I love that the version of gotcha journalism here is just like, did you know your chain is a top 10 chain? What's your reaction to it?
It just contextualizes it a bit, right?
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, it's huge. We should also make sure we introduce Will before we jump into the conversation, because I don't want him just sitting down there maybe people who are enjoying it don't need an introduction to Will. Will's been on a bunch of our stuff in the past. Hello, Will. Maybe I'll just say hello. I think the conversation is going to move into the L3 piece, and I know you and Syndicate were deeply involved in that. So,
excited to jam on it.
Lovely to have you here. All right, Josh, take it away.
Hi, Will. Yeah, I would love to. I think Jess, you and Jacek cut up this week, and you kind of sprinkled a little bit of the kind of behind the scenes on how the L3 chain came to be. So I don't know, Will or Jacek who wants to take this, but just kind of the story on how Degen Chain came to be would be, I think, a cool place to start.
I mean, I could probably talk about my perspective. Basically, the whole idea of the Degen Chain kind of came to me from like two developers that this was like a time when basically like a lot of people were coming to me. Well, they're still coming to me, but anyway, they're like, we kind of sat down and we were kind of talking about how to like reduce the fees potentially for Powerball, which is like a frame on Farcaster, pretty popular frame for Degen, and they're basically saying they're paying like $300 in fees every day. And they were really pushing this idea of an L3, and I had never really thought about, I didn't even know what an L3 was, so they had to kind of explain to me that it's just like a roll up on a roll up, and I wasn't really convinced. And then it kind of, I went on a walk and I started kind of thinking, and it started kind of like sinking in that this might be a cool idea. And then I was kind of just looking to see who kind of wants to help me build it, and I found Syndicate. They were doing the frame chain, which kind of caught my attention. And I think like we just had really good vibes on our talk, because we were basically I think the Syndicate team, Will and Ian, they were in at Denver, and they just seemed really hyped to kind of help me out. Because I didn't really have the bandwidth to kind of like develop all of this on my own. And it seemed like they kind of knew what they were doing, so this made a lot of sense. So then I could kind of focus on some other things, and they focused really on making the chain happen from like a technical perspective. And things are here now. So
when you're on your walk and it sunk in that this was a thing you should do, what was like the core insight or thing that clicked that made this make sense?
So I think I started kind of, because I was me and my fiance, we go on walks, so I was kind of telling her about the app store idea, like how this could be an app store, and she like totally doesn't really like get crypto. So when I started explaining it in those terms, she's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. Maybe you should try that." And I just thought like there's not too much to lose doing this. But then I really liked the whole ecosystem. It started just kind of like sinking in that, maybe we could do like this app store style thing, and we haven't done it yet, but like, highlight different apps, bring people in. And then it also kind of sunk in that, well, at least one person or like one team wants to develop on it. So maybe, somebody else might want to develop on it. And then I was also thinking about tipping, and the fact that it would be cool if at one point people could tip using Degen, like, not just through a tip allowance the way we're doing it now, but like actually load up their wallet and things like that. So I was thinking, well, this could be a good way for like micro transactions to potentially kind of happen, where you don't have to pay 10 cents or 5 cents or whatever it is on base. You could probably pay a lot less, and now it turns out like you're basically paying almost nothing in fees for transacting on Degen Chain, which is a big thing. So I don't know, all these kind of things. But yeah, it still hasn't really like sunk in the fact that, so many people have like bridged, and I haven't even had time to really like dive into all the projects, which is another thing I really want to do, because people are building on it. And so that kind of surprised me too, how fast people have been kind of picking up and trying to do things. And then I guess the last thing is, I always kind of thought about Dogecoin. On my previous job, I was the data architect. In my email signature, it was data architect / Dogecoin ambassador, because the CEO basically said, "Yeah, you're our Dogecoin ambassador," because I was always kind of talk about it and stuff. And so it kind of felt like, well, Dogecoin, if they had their own ecosystem, their own app store, I felt like I would definitely go there on a regular basis. I would definitely go and check out what are these apps that Dogecoin builders are building, and so forth and so on. But it's not happening. Like that space isn't really, it just never came up. So I feel like this could be like memecoin 2.0, where we have app stores, we have an ecosystem, we have like a whole world And it's not just a token and then a few people get super rich and they kind of fade it and they're like, all right, well, now we're kind of done and we made the money we were trying to make and sayonara, right? And then they have like Dogecoin Lamborghinis and things like that, and you never see them again. So I kind of feel like this should be a long-term thing where we can really build this ecosystem. And yeah, I mean, you see like Facebook even trying to do like the metaverse or something, but this is like a much more fun version of that. So I don't know. That's where I'm coming from.
Bearish Facebook token, bullish Degen. I like it. Well, like the Syndicate journey has been a phenomenal one to witness. I think we sort of came out of the same era with C Club and Syndicate, and I think we're pulling out a lot of the similar threads. Like this, clearly, there's value in community and in the sort of social context that exists around people coming together and like willing things into existence. And I think it was very interesting to me to see sort of the evolution to this point where really you guys are at the center of this sort of L3 narrative right now, having launched a couple of the first ones, supporting a bunch of other teams. I know there's a ton in the pipeline. But I'm curious from a Syndicate and maybe the infrastructure perspective, what is the journey to L3s and what is sort of like the promise and opportunity here from your perspective?
Absolutely. Yeah. So our journey into L3s came about very organically. It was Farcaster Frames had launched, and I'd put together this on-chain cows, this like cow clicker style game as a frame, and I used base Sepolia. And on base Sepolia, we ate up 35 base Sepolia ETH, like spiked the transactions on the chain a ton, and like everything was, bogging down on even a testnet L2. And we were like, well, an L3 really needs to exist for these things. We launch Syndicate Frame Chain as a space for L3 experiments so that people can broadcast transactions to our transaction cloud easily through the frame chain and through our frame API. And then Jacek reaches out and, we're jamming on Degen Chain. And it's just this incredible back and forth. Like these ideas are flying at like a million ideas a minute. And, like Ian and I are on this like a terrible hotel Wi-Fi in Denver. And Jacek's connecting. And we're like, this makes so much sense to do. Like this is clearly the next step. Where these L3s, like I cannot imagine a more energized, more involved community than the Degen community. There's tons of experimental ideas with the tokens that are already playing out that could easily move to the L3. And it's like, this is perfect. So I see Degen as really the accelerant of mainstream crypto adoption. The Las Vegas analogy that Jacek uses is a nice one. Like you don't necessarily go to Las Vegas to gamble. You also go to Las Vegas for the shows and for the restaurants. And it's like Degen, is kind of this like really fun chain where there's something for everyone there. And that's only possible when gas fees are a billionth to a millionth of a penny. And when the chain can start to be customized in different directions over time.
I find it interesting because there's obviously there's still a lot of debate around L2s scaling generally. And I think that's just like probably going to reach a fever pitch. People seem very offended by the idea of L3s in some circles of the internet.
I have my own thoughts on that.
Yes, I'm sure. But to me, it feels like there's almost like two really big unlocks here. And I feel like the focus has really been on the tech, right? Like maybe like the narrative of being like, scaling Ethereum and L3s are part of that. But the sense I get through Degen and I think just in looking at some of the other things that are kind of in the works is that there's also sort of like a social narrative here that the L3s are not purely just about scaling, but it's about creating and formalizing a network around believers, et cetera. And so, I think we've seen a lot of, I think we're actually talking about a bit later on, this sort of almost putting L3s in this bucket of, and with meme coins, is sort of the evolution of DAOs and into this sort of next type of structure that people can kind of align around and have some sense of like longevity or there being a true network here beyond maybe the more informal connections that emerge around an NFT collection or just sort of owning a meme coin. So I'm curious, like if you just zoom out and you think about this world that we're building towards, like how do you describe that opportunity to people? And is it, I mean, part of that is clearly technology, but do you agree with this sort of social dynamic that's emerging as well?
Yeah, I'm also loving the different L3 feeds you're pulling up as we go. The Degen Chain feed is hilarious. There's I think that so L3s in my mind are really an accelerated mass adoption of crypto. They're an accelerated mass adoption of crypto because suddenly, for example, like you look at the evolution of tokens. Okay, so there were NFTs which you could hold and get access to a community. And then people were like, oh, there are DAOs and you can hold these and you can vote. And then meme coins come in. And the very beginning of meme coins is kind of like you can hold these and get access to community as well. But then they evolve. And they evolve very quickly into these community shelling points where it becomes not just I'm holding this token in common and holding these assets in common are a good way to build community. But also I can start to interact with others on chain, just like how I'd interact with others off chain. Kind of like how we've seen a migration in many ways from, say, Discords to Warpcast channels in the Farcaster ecosystem. I think we'll see a migration in many ways from different token types to that are communities or apps to their own chains. And the reason why is, not because it scales better and is super cheap, not because it's super customizable, not because it's a way to generate a sustainable community. All of these things are true, but because suddenly now you can interact on chain in a way that you can interact off chain and start to build a community there. That I think is probably a natural next step where all of these chains will have their own differentiator. Degen already has a really unique vibe to it. There's already Degen specific apps that are deployed. It feels different to be on Degen than it does to be on Base or to be on Optimism or be on Arbitrum. And I think you'll start to see that where the L3s, they'll feel different. They'll cultivate their own unique community. They'll customize to address those communities' needs. And it's just this flywheel of like Degen goes in one direction and they start to customize in an incredible way. And you'll keep doing Degen-esque things that are aligned with the Degen community on the Degen chain. Because why would you go anywhere else when the chain has everything you need? And the same will be true of other chains in other directions.
Why go anywhere else? Degen. Why go anywhere else?
Yeah, I think the legibility that it gives scenes is really compelling, right? It's like, do you want to join the scene? Go bridge to the L3. Do you want to incubate your project alongside the scene? Go launch it on the L3. Do you want like scene reputation data? Go query the L3. So I think just the like legibility and tangibility it can give what are like largely informal networks right now is really interesting. Go ahead, Jess.
So, Jason, I think my big takeaway from our conversation yesterday was just how emergent. I think we actually shared a lot of sort of early experiences in building projects that just sort of felt like they had their own energy behind them, and in many ways, it's sort of like, almost using more taste and sort of a sense of where things should go than some really specific strategy to go build towards something. And I think if I was to sort of zoom out and look at some of the things he did at Degen that were very important to its success today. I think like tipping was very non-consensus at the time he did it. And now I would describe it as like social distribution for tokens. And that's very clearly a meta and solves a big problem actually with token launches, which is how do you actually put tokens into the hands of the right people? Well, novel idea, give it to people to give away to the people they think are right people. That's kind of cool. The next inflection point really in my mind was sort of this like integration into other applications. So Dracula, Bracket, Pearl, there are many more that I think you've been working on, and then into this sort of L3 piece. And I'm curious, as you sort of like what are the emergent things right now that you're sort of exploring that maybe have a similar feeling to those things?
Yeah, I think like all of these things, they kind of just pop up and it's like day to day. I don't know, something just happens and then you kind of, because like with the L3, there wasn't that much excitement like around it. I don't think there was that much excitement. I had like the banner up there and it's like, now it says the Degen L3 is live, but before it was like, it's coming soon. And even when I kind of posted that, like people were talking about it, but it didn't seem like, at least, I didn't have a chance to go through all the comments and all that kind of stuff, but at least the people that were interfacing with me, they weren't really talking about it too much. And then I guess I was talking to somebody yesterday and they were kind of telling me that, they thought that the chain was going to happen like months from now, like it was going to take forever and that this was just going to be, but, I had it on the site and I thought I was, yeah, I thought maybe I didn't communicate that well. It's coming soon, but I guess
You did say that.
yeah. I guess soon. I think people didn't really believe like this was going to happen, which is kind of weird. But so that was kind of a little bit weird thing that I didn't realize. But then when it went live, then that's when like everything kind of exploded in a way. Like there was just a ton of different reactions and a ton of people talking, and then the Telegram blew up, and there was a ton of people that had to kind of like support and do all that kind of stuff. So I don't think I have like this well-defined roadmap for everything. I do think the L3 chain, now that I see its like potential and like this is like things are happening, like I'll flow in that direction. But my initial thing was that this is probably going to be slow. It's going to take a while to build up. Let's give it a year maybe, and we'll see what happens. In the meantime, I'll build out tipping. Now I kind of feel like, well, this is more of a protocol. This is more of a platform. People want to launch. People want to kind of like hang out here. So I think with the next steps, like what is like the new emerging thing? It's not something that's like well defined for me.
I mean, I think that's a lesson in and of itself, right? And I think the sort of idea of just launching something into some interest and really stoking and stewarding that interest, and I think showing up, making good decisions, clearly investing a lot of your time and energy into building momentum around this thing. And my sense is you have like a hazy vision in the future, and then as things become more real in the immediate terms, just making bold choices seems to be working pretty well. So I love it. I think we're coming up on time here. Josh, I don't know if you have a last question you want to ask.
Yeah, maybe last one before we let you guys go. Obviously, a huge part of this decision, I think an important part of the narrative was that Degen was used as the gas token. So maybe like briefly, I'm curious how you guys kind of just like reasoned or thought through whether that was the right thing to do or not.
Well, yeah, I guess from my side, I would say that was sort of like an important part of the whole Degen experience. But there was a point in time where, I kind of wanted to fit in this whole like super chain idea, but to me, like there wasn't like one sort of, so I'm not that deep into like all the blockchains. So I didn't see like such a huge difference between what is Arbitrum Orbit doing that, Optimism is not doing, or vice versa, or like why should I pick one or the other? Like I didn't really see like a technological big thing that I really needed in one chain or the other, but that might just be because I'm not that deep into it, and maybe this is like a mistake or not, I don't know. But then like the one thing I did really, really want was for the native gas token to be Degen. It just feels right. And it also kind of feels like, well, people are buying this token, and then, I want to make it into like, so one thing was like, is this a currency, or is this more of like a security type of thing where I should be building an app and people are investing in something like Blur, or like, they're like more governance tokens, but really you're banking on this app being popular. And so you kind of want to, it's kind of like a stock almost. But anyway, so I was kind of thinking, well, so is Degen more of like stock in a company and I'm supposed to build something like an app? Or is it more of like a currency, like a protocol, and people kind of use it to, within their apps? And so I was leaning more towards the currency and using this as basically like a cryptocurrency. And I think using Degen as the native gas token fits into that perfectly. And then there's also a little bit more demand for the token. You have to spend it, you have to use it. So I think that just works like great. And then when people build apps, they're building more like on Degen. And so they're thinking in a different way than you might think when you're using ETH or something else, or that puts you in a certain mindset of like more serious. And I don't know, it's a different mindset. But when you're building with the Degen token on the Degen chain, it just feels like you're building a little bit different. And that little difference sometimes makes a big difference in what people build and how they interact. So
agree. I love just seeing the Dogecoin inspiration actually come through a lot of what you're thinking about here. So that's amazing. Guys, really appreciate you hanging out with us today. We could clearly go on for another hour around this, but you see, we got a big list of stuff. We got another great guest to bring up here. I know there's like a bunch of exciting things coming out of the Degen ecosystem and the Syndicate ecosystem, so people should pay attention next week. And look forward to talking with you guys again soon.
awesome.
Thanks so much. Yeah,
Thanks,
it's a ton of fun.
guys.
Talk to
See you
you.
guys.
Bye.
I mean, I love, right? Like, I think this sort of like professionalizing of Silicon Valley has come to this point where we think like every founder has some big master plan that they're going to go run at, and there's almost like this patina and gets put on these folks. And the reality is, at the beginning of any of these sort of technological revolutions, it is just people fucking around and finding out, and then there's a momentum that builds to it, and that sort of professionalization and formalization sort of comes a bit further down. And so I think this conversation and just seeing where Degen is right now and the speed of which it happened, I think is really capturing a moment that I think happens in technology all the time that maybe most of us don't get a chance to see. And so for builders out there, just a constant reminder of just the power of shipping things, right? Get it out there. Trust that you'll be able to iterate. That, if you're able to actually have attention and people believing in the thing, that's actually the hard thing. And if you get that, then there's a lot of opportunities moving forward. So,
yep. Yeah, just the power of acting on intuitions that can often like feel small, but I think often are hinting at something much larger, which, maybe we've been experiencing with Enjoy.
Maybe.
All right, let's bring Nilesh up. What's up, man?
Hi, Josh. Hi, Jess.
What's up, Nilesh?
How are you? Yeah, good to meet you. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, excited to have you on. We had Stanny on 2-3 weeks ago. Obviously, I think Jess and I are both deeper in the Farcaster ecosystem, which fun to have Stanny on and really just like kind of tease out some of the big major differences in the Lens ecosystem and the decisions Lens is making and the implications that has on builders. So really excited to get into that with you. So maybe just to kick it off, do you want to give us kind of the quick overview on what Orb is?
Yeah, sure. So Orb is kind of just purely on-chain social app built on top of the Lens protocol. And as I will not go into much into Lens protocol, as you know, like all the ownership and all the aspects. But Orb, we are trying to make your user's experience super slick and simple, where being on-chain, they don't feel like it's on-chain. It feels like a Web2 application. And on top of that, our whole goal is to like how to make users make money, like creators make more money, artists make more money, even though like normal users using the app, how we can enable to make more money. So yeah.
Got it, cool. And what are some like potentially, I don't know how much you use Warpcast, but curious what some just kind of major differences between Orb and Warpcast are?
Yeah. So the major difference is definitely one is like Warpcast is built on Farcaster, it's built on Lens protocol, but here the Orb's vibe is kind of completely different. So Warpcast is definitely feels like Twitter, and then you can see like one-to-one you can match the Twitter, and then Orb 1v1 was also like that, but we could kind of pretty much realize that we don't want to build the next Twitter, I like the Twitter. I come to Twitter daily, and then use it. We want to build something different, and then that realization happened, and then that's where we kind of started thinking completely differently. And then we thought like first how to not to look Twitter because it was super hard. You can place the tail application. I guess Jack Dorsey also tweeted once like that in 2023. He tweeted 1 year ago, we expected flying cars. We got like 7 copies of Twitter. So that's not something we wanted to have. And then we wanted to build something which can feel like or unique experience. So we went completely and kind of changed the whole experience of the app. And then once we redesigned, we got really good user reviews that it feels completely different. It doesn't feel like any Web3 or even Web2 social. Is new social kind of feels like. So that was super exciting. But here, like users can drop, for example, you can see like their videos, music, audio, or any kind of content, and then they can make it mintable. That's one of the kind of way to monetize this stuff. But there are kind of creator economy is like much more deep involved in it because on the while creating collectibles, you can also select like. You can co-create with other creators, and you can say like revenue. For example, we are live streaming there, and then if we make it collectible, we can share our revenue in three of us, 33%, which is pretty cool to see like how we can. And I love the idea of like how we can program the money on the blockchain, and then that's what kind of here completely enables it. So this is from creator side, they can monetize really easily. From the user side, right now there are also other components where, for example, we have repost. Repost is kind of retweet, and if there is any collectible, you are having some particular price for that. If somebody repost, they can get the referral amount, and that creates completely different category of the users. And you can call it curator, because like if you see, there are so many meme accounts, they are just kind of sharing content from others, but there is no economic incentive there. So here you can have like the revenue share with the a referral, and so I would say like kind of those are major differences.
Yeah, I think like it's so interesting to see, Farcaster and Lens take very different approaches to go to market, and I feel like I often describe them as like the two right approaches to go to market. Like one, you're building the protocol on the app. The other is you're just trying to build the best protocol possible, and then really empower app developers to come in and build. And I think there's sort of the sense of like maybe one being able to catch more traction earlier, and one maybe is a bit of a longer play. And I think, my take after using it, or a few things. One, the group chats are like, holy shit, that feels like a Web 2 experience. Like it is a delightful thing to log in and to use in a way that many other, Web 3 apps aren't, or at least, maybe aren't. And so there's a sense that there's actually like, maybe that was a missing piece in the Lens ecosystem for a while. It was sort of like the actual very effective integration of all the pieces that the protocol provided into a user experience. I think that the next big piece here is like, what are like the early user groups that are really making participating in on this platform valuable? So, Seed Club is very active on Farcaster because we see the builder type of person over there being very active. There's clearly a huge amount of talent, and I think frames and even just the go to market probably really led to that. And I think we're on Lens. I don't think we're active on Orb yet. And so I'm curious, maybe if you want to give us, I think there's also a lot of Farcaster users on the stream right now.
Yeah.
Maybe a good opportunity to sort of make the pitch, because there's clearly something happening here. It's still clearly very early. How should Seed Club use this, or why should somebody come over and start using Orb today?
Yeah. So you can say like Orb is a kind of, this is kind of community driven. I would say like, pitch, but it's like people are seeing it a combination of Twitter and Instagram, because it feels like, more, I would say, more media centric, which is like, for example, Farcaster is like more kind of text centric. And then we have like the audio, video, and then kind of optimized for media. And then we have like, so I've been like started calling it kind of combination of, you can say like Instagram plus Reddit on steroids. And because we have like these clubs, and then we actually rebranded clubs, which is kind of, Farcaster channels. We used to call them communities earlier, like 1 year ago. And then we have been, like people have been using this community for a while. And then we rebranded it clubs. And then clubs have like so many superpowers. So for example, right now there is this bonsai club that has their own treasury. So every club can have their own treasury, and treasury is just safe wallet. And then all moderators are kind of signer of that safe. So what happens is like if you create some content, or if you create value inside the club, then revenue can share can go to the club treasury. So there is I can ping you this club treasuries, wallet address actually, and you can see. But in the bonsai club, there are around right now around 50,000 bonsai collected in the treasury. That means bonsai club is collecting 10% and 90% is going, of course, to users. So in the club, being in the club and being in one community, you can earn you can monetize your stuff. So in last few weeks, people creators kind of monetized using the bonsai more than $50,000 just in the club, which is super pretty insane. And then now Club has their own treasury. So what they are going to do is like they are going to redistribute this treasury to, again, most active users. So here on subreddit, for example, you have karma. So you kind of get karma for being part of the community. But what we are saying, like, you just not get kind of, social status, but you also get economic value to be being part of the community. So those kind of some features, I would say, like, might be unique.
I mean, I think it's really tough to not get bullish on this new infra layer that's emerging, sort of the open social, right? That sort of, we're still at the early days of the tools really being built that enable that sort of crossover between sort of social capital and financial capital. And I guess that's sort of the crypto wave generally. But the fact that there is a place where this social context get created and the tools are embedded and anybody can really come in and remix, I think is a pretty exciting time, as, people can just kind of fuck around and find out in a really wonderful way. So yeah, very excited to see just the progress that you guys have made at Orb over the last little while. It's definitely just popped out, I think, onto a lot of people's radars. And definitely if you're in the audience right now and haven't given it a chance, I think it's definitely a thing to be early to continue to see Orb ship really useful tools to make creating new types of things with your friends on chain much easier. So I appreciate you coming and hanging out with us today, Nilesh. Where should people go to find out more about Orb?
Just go to orb.club website and you can find out today.
Download the thing, because the onboarding, it's like you guys have made some really great choices there. You can see Peace in the chat just being very excited about refreshing. There's a vibe to it.
Yeah. All the interactions feel amazing. Like it feels better than Instagram or Twitter. Like people compare it to other apps. And I just think it's actually a better experience than most other apps. It feels very modern and cool. Nice job.
Actually, we also released one feature yesterday, which is like, in-app mint. And then you just, so far, like minting is so hard. You have to just switch between the wallets and everything. We released one where you just swipe and that's, it's get minted in your wallet. So that's quite amazing, because I haven't seen anyone doing on the kind of consumer side of the things, making things that simple. So one of the goal is like how we can make Web3, on-chain stuff super simple. So yeah, super excited to keep building.
And man, appreciate you hanging out with us today and best of luck.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
See you, dude.
Yeah, I think like mint with warps or mint within social apps is just such a key component of this. Like that, not getting kicked out to some wallet connected thing is just huge. Though I'm not a big mobile wallet user generally, and that is a thing that got in the way of me actually signing up for Orb, was having to. I didn't have to do it. They have other options too, but I kind of like.
I would never. This is the thing that's been blocking me from like transaction frames on mobile. Is like getting Coinbase wallet. Like the number of times I've tried to transact on a frame and hit that, it's not great.
It needs to come into the app. All right. Well, we have so much time left for all these juicy topics, and
we are in trouble.
All of these. So.
Okay, sick. Let's just hit it. Because a lot of these are related, so we can kind of wind our way through them pretty quickly, I think. So I really just loved seeing this post from Light pop up, exploring how meme coins just might be the DAOs that we've always wanted. Jess, I think we've kind of been talking about this amongst ourselves for quite a while, and are kind of feeling a similar intuition. So it was cool to see Light kind of exploring a similar thing and laying it out. So he's been a core contributor to Hire, which is a Farcaster native seed coin, kind of offering a more like refined and polished like manifestation of speculative energy, I guess. It's, the memes and content that comes out of that community is pretty strong. And basically this post is kind of a reflection on him taking it from 0 to 1, or being a core contributor of it going from 0 to 1, and just reflecting on what that would have looked like in a DAO world, right? Because like the common DAO structure of the previous cycle, and when I say DAO, very much talk about kind of the social DAO world. You had a token that governed a treasury through some overcomplicated governance processes often, and everything happened in some token gated Discord because like membership was a core benefit of holding tokens. So then the like barriers to participation and propagation that this created just kind of like hugely hindered the growth of these networks ultimately, right? And the presence of a treasury and governance processes kind of pushed them into like organizing like and getting valued like traditional companies. And I think what we're seeing in kind of these like pure meme coin or scene coin communities is that all these constraints are just kind of blown out of the window, right? Like they're focused on distributing the token as far and wide as possible, knowing that that network value ultimately comes from the attention and distribution that token has. Anyone can buy it, have skin in the game, and kind of do anything they'd like to help the network grow. So I think like, just reflecting on my own experience of like buying a membership token like FWB and then kind of like not participating in the community, maybe you get distracted or there's just so much going on. It feels like a waste, right? Especially with the limited upside because of all these barriers to propagation versus like, buying Degen or higher and not really participating kind of feels fine because you're ultimately just like betting on the kind of growth and propagation of the scene and know at any point if you want to start memeing or jumping in, you can. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I think I tweeted before that, meme coins are kind of social networks, digital fashion items, reward systems, cultural prediction markets, ownership assets, and membership to a scene, all like hyper compressed into a single product. And I think by being nothing, they're kind of really good at just being everything and whatever a person wants them to be.
I love his description of left curve, right? Like instinctively make it simple. I think that is key here. I dropped a link to a tweet in the chat here piece, which I think is, it's from Jesse Walden, who's just really great at defining language around things. And I've continued, I value that a lot. And so I think there is definitely, there's sort of, well, even just listening to how Will was talking about L3s, there's sort of the sense of trying to make this feel real in a certain way. I think there's a lot of belief that these sort of social constructs and the social capital is valuable. And I think a lot of the story of the sort of social side of crypto over the last little while has been in pursuit of the mechanisms that can make that real and sustainable. And so I think we're in this beginning of a new era of that exploration. And sort of Jesse sort of frames it as like, NFTs or meme coins or NFTs as, can you scroll back up so I can talk about it? Meme coins 2.0 or DAOs 2.0. And I think that's like, very good encapsulation of it. We're going to have Light on Internet Explorers hopefully next week. So maybe we can go deeper in all of this sort of stuff with them. Yeah. And we can move on to our other topics here. But there's something brewing. Is maybe the TLDR here.
Yeah, I think this is very related. So jumping over to enjoy tipping. So I think what we're very quickly starting to see is that tipping kind of takes that, meme coins as DAOs to the next level, or is at least like hinting on what that could look like. So, common meme coin launch practice is to, put all tokens into an LP, maybe you do like a little crowdfund to raise funds for it, but you kind of just like release it into the market and, all tokens are distributed and, you see what happens. And obviously this works well for pure meme coins that are focused on just like capturing the attention value of an underlying meme. But for scene coins, which I think we're increasingly interested in, Degen, Enjoy, they get their value from this, like the collective time, energy, and money that people are dedicating to the underlying scene. So having a way to actually reward people over time for their contribution, something Jacek was actually talking about, beyond just like price going up, gives us a huge incentive to kind of work for the scene or do things that the scene deems to be valuable. So Degen kind of pioneered this tipping mechanism through tip comments on Farcaster, and this week we released an evolution of it specific to the Enjoy scene. So now anybody holding 500K Enjoy gets a weekly allocation of tokens they can use to tip creators through mid comments. The amount they get scales based on an on-chain enjoyer ranking, which is kind of fun and cool. But I think just, pushing the distribution of tokens to the community is just this really kind of strong and novel mechanism that I think is having even more of a profound impact than we thought it was going to have. I think even just seeing, we're seeing kind of underfunded creator supporting projects kind of use this as like a de facto grant system. I think I dropped the UFO link. We're seeing creators like Matthew Chain or LDF kind of use this as a way to kind of upfront crowdfund creative projects they want to do for this scene. And then we're just seeing tons of people just, tip creators and content that they really like. And this we released it Monday, and the tooling and infrastructure and product experience around it is very light. So just insanely excited and bullish.
In true Enjoy fashion. In before the tech, baby. In before the tech. Yeah, I think that it's sort of like this, how do you identify, one, there's like already a scene that exists on Zora and the sort of on-chain enjoyers, creators. How do you identify really great, strong actors within it? And then can you really give them tokens to give away to people. And I think, that's very clear. If you go to the Enjoy Tech site right now, you see, who the top tippers are. They are people who are very influential because of what they've done in that ecosystem, not because of who they were before, but because of the actions they've taken. And so like this identity, and then with sort of like leveraging that to give an increased amount of allocation to help them be the deciders of who and what gets funded and where tokens go, I think is actually a very, very smooth brain take and actually pretty impactful. And it's been out for a couple of days. We've seen an ad get funded. There's an anthem for Enjoy coming. A whole bunch of creators are, the announcement NFT is like minted over 4.5 million times. It's got to be way up there with the most minted on Zora at some point. I don't know if it already is or not. Their tips are flowing through. There's clearly a lot more to go build here. But I think this is just really a kernel that we kind of threw over the fence and to let run. And now we're really just seeing, a lot of emergent opportunities. A ton of people want to build with it. A ton of people want to build specific things for it. A lot of people are saying, please give me more of this, or we need better tools. It's still very hard to go by. There are charts now, but that's still not on all like the major chart places that maybe memecoin people are looking for. So I think it just creates a really like emergent dynamic that has been really fun to see. And this idea of, I think somebody framed it as like, we went from this sort of like paying to mint NFTs into almost free NFTs, and now into people like creators really earning protocol rewards and these scene coins for creating things that are aligned with the community. So I don't know where this goes, but it's just like there's clearly energy and excitement and just a total huge roadmap of things you could go do that I think there's a lot of momentum still to be had here.
Yeah, totally. I think the second I saw like what Matthew's post, I was like, oh yeah, in the old world, like this would have needed a governance proposal reviews, some like token weighted voting. And then like he went from idea to post, and then the community decided whether they cared enough to tip it or fund it within like 5 minutes. It's like, right, this is
and there's community
really dynamic world.
I'm really interested to see what UFO does here. They're doing sort of a top 20 process. I think that they have they're big allocators in the top of the enjoyer score. So there's you're just like permissionlessly giving people things to go and fund, back, distribute, and they have zero idea how it's going to be used. And like every single day, new and interesting things come out. And some of the art people are creating too, man. Like the devil, the
Jesus cross and everything. That was so good.
What is going on? I love that so much. You got to bring that up piece. I mean, it might be hard to find right now.
I think. Yeah. The one thing I guess I wanted to add to this too that is so interesting is just like Zora enabling people to mint in any ERC20 is like a crazy thing for brands to play with. Like tokens obviously are a double-edged sword. They go up and down. They make you feel every type of emotion. It's better to just enjoy them. But it is awesome when you can like mint something, earn a token, and then it goes up significantly. And all of a sudden these creators have this maybe more capital than they would, and this high brand affiliation that they have with this token, and them making this thing possible. And so, it's a really cool thing that Zora's done. And I'm really glad that we get to, play with both these levers and tipping and minting with Enjoy and other tokens.
It's kind of wild how just like fast all this stuff's moving, right? Like Degen's been out for 3 months, which is insane. And now we're at this point where, you can mint with any of these kind of scene coins or meme coins on Zora. L3s are emerging. Kind of tipping is this kind of constantly explored, remixed like mechanism to distribution power to the community. It's just wild how quickly this compounds.
And this is sick. Like he charged 5 Enjoy, and there's 90,000 minted. That's incredibly fun. So bullish on Zora Network, driving hella transactions. It's awesome.
Yeah, and I love seeing like sort of the distribute. Like there's a lot of stuff being created, and the Enjoy community is really recognizing what they see as being exceptional works here as well. And so I think as we zoom out and maybe reflect on, and then 6 months from now, it's gonna be really interesting to see what that taste and curation ultimately looks like. And minting with Enjoy is a big component there.
I mean, just wait till Enjoy tips received leaderboard shows up. But that's going to be a super interesting thing to look at. Or the
ooh, fun.
Well, I don't know.
We got to crunch the data, right? It's like,
we got some data to crunch.
There's no shortage of data.
even just the idea of like tipping as a curation mechanism and having like a feed of enjoy tipped media, it just seems like this really interesting thing for people that are part of the scene to scroll through. But
that's that's with this, it's sick. Like Token Chat, which was built by Fascinated, just indexes all the comments on Zora Protocol. And so it's great to just have like all our tips actually on chain and index. And I love they put this silver badge here for the tips, and
sick.
And so it's really, really cool.
I mean, I love that, our friends at Interface continue to build amazing things. I love that my Interface notifications are all including enjoy tips. The ability to, the fact that it's just tipping within comment, a native feature on Zora already, has made it very easy for other wallets and for folks like Interface to integrate tipping right into it. You mint it, you add a comment. It's nothing more than that, tech-wise. So, yeah. Okay. Anyways, we got 5 minutes left.
Okay, let's go. This could be quick. So just wanted to call out this like Farcaster request for startups that Barry put together. So we kicked off SEO 7 this week, and just like the Farcaster energy and excitement is just very, very palpable. Like, founders continue recognizing the like social context that exists there, blah, 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 all the stuff we've been talking about. But I think interestingly, a few of the founders mentioned how largely like many of the VCs they're talking to they're still not kind of recognizing that, which I thought was kind of an interesting anecdote, but also saw how clearly Variant is recognizing it. And they dropped this great list of just like opportunities they're seeing. I think maybe like my coolest kind of reflection from scrolling through this, I was like, within probably almost all of those categories, I've seen builders experimenting, building a specific thing within them for either Degen or Enjoy. So just like these scene coins, like incubation grounds for kind of novel experiments that I wouldn't be surprised actually lead to kind of like valuable, companies or products down the line is really interesting.
Agreed.
I'm obsessed with this idea of like a frames first client. It's like it would just be a social feed of apps. Yeah, so that's pretty damn sick what you could do with that.
We got a couple teams in the C Club world that are kind of poking at that, which is very exciting.
Yeah. Also, it's kind of interesting how it spikes, it comes down, sets newer lows, goes back up. Like it's
just Farcaster is here, Farcaster is dead, Farcaster is here, Farcaster dead is still here.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. Just I kind of popped this meme coin consensus topic in here because it's just a thing I've been thinking about a lot, and I think the more I think about it, I think it's just very underappreciated how much work and how hard it is to actually take a meme coin from 0 to 1. So the big opportunity with meme coins, of course, is to be like the token that becomes the consensus shelling point for a thing that has immense amounts of attention or cultural value. But there are hundreds of Trump-related meme coins, but like there's one clear winner, right? Like with having a $3 billion FTV has as much to do with the relentlessness of like the people behind it and team behind it than it does with the strength of the meme. So I think just kind of a reflection on how hard it is to get to consensus, and a reflection on how kind of being the consensus shelling point is ultimately kind of like the holy grail of meme coins. And I think I've just been thinking a lot about products that kind of package that in a way that gives the things that emerge within their product or community a good chance at becoming the consensus selling points.
It's likely that like this sort of just like launch a token, distribute it all. That and the starting points are going to start to evolve quite a bit from just like mint from contract to seeing a lot of parties forming around things right now to like I think they're actual products that create the social context that these things can kind of spin out of.
So this is a funny example. Like actually, I think it was. It came out of the show. I think we were talking about the Costco Hot Dog at some point here. And the early days of pump.fun, I actually created the hot dog, the Costco Hot Dog meme coin. I was like pre-programmed to go to $1.50. All the memes that get propagated now within the Costco Hot Dog consensus shelling point meme that is sitting at $80 million FDV. I kind of like created 2 months ago, but I think it's just like a great example and then put zero effort into it. Right. So it kind of had this like little moment. People like the meme. It's a good meme. but because there was no heartbeat to the thing, and no people memeing it or just like relentlessly bringing it into existence and having it break out, it just kind of went to zero. And then someone put
is that reply to your tweet? The person who did it, is that you made it and I stole it from you? Is that the?
No. I think he thought.
Oh, they stole it for you. I was so good if it was the founder and the other thing.
Oh, that was me. No, but I think good for them, right? I think
sure.
Like, oh, Costco Hot Dog, what a great meme. I think that actually the thing they should be saying is like, oh, what a sick job by this team for getting this into the public consciousness.
Yeah.
And reaching consensus there.
These things just emerge and they happen, right? It's just magic. I think no effort.
Occasionally they do, but it's not how it usually the case.
There are behind every big thing, there is people who made it big.
Yeah.
In some way.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. I think even just like recognizing how relentless Peace has been just creating wild enjoy content and memes and being like the voice of it. It's underappreciated. Kind of time. I think just a note that this is worth reading. It's great post by James Beck that kind of just provides like a kind of fresh, kind of more like brand building framing on scene coins and meme coins. It looks kind of at some like traditional brand building frameworks and creative class categories to really talk about why tokens are this kind of new, like super effective brand building mechanism, especially in this kind of aspirational economy that we now live in. So, how long more we can say on it, but we just recommend going to read it.
I mean, I feel like this is the thing we're going to be talking about for the next few months, no matter what.
Yeah. All
right. Well, we got to get to at least one lightning round here. Our lightning round is literally just lightning strikes once, and every single show right now.
Oh, this is just funny. Some like AI token deployer. Again, kind of related to the concept of how much work it takes. Like none of these are gonna. I mean, maybe the first one. I don't know, but
interesting. AI are coming for meme coin creators' jobs. Oh no,
it's not a good sign if you can't choose a name, a ticker, the supply. I don't know. That's too funny. Someone should do this for. I don't know. That's so funny.
I love it. Alrighty. I guess this episode.
I was gonna say one more.
Do it. Okay.
Oh, just money's coming. Money's coming back in.
Okay.
Let's go. Good time to fundraise.
Okay, we like the money. Money's good to go do things. As a reminder, Josh is a phenomenal roundup of all these things and all the things that we weren't able to get to on the show. So you follow him, Josh CRNLS on Twitter. Get subscribe to that paragraph. So much more than we can get into the show is there, and it's really just like the place to go and get your weekly consumer crypto updates, news, links, etc. Very well worth getting on there. Of course, the C Club newsletter as well is a great source for the happenings in our world and beyond. You can do cclub.xyz to find that. We're here every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern. A lot happening in the C Club world. We've got SEO 7 kicked off this week, deep with our teams, very just absurdly bullish on the things they're building, the timing of the things they're building. We're very excited to continue to bring you along with that. Might not see a whole lot in the near term, but oh my gosh, are they going to come up with some exciting things? Also flagging that we're going to be doing some fun stuff at Farcon. So we're hosting the welcome party. We're also putting together sort of an unconference style thing around the consumer crypto channel that you'll be hearing a lot more about. So make sure you're on our newsletter if you want to get an early invite to that. And then just click some buttons with enjoy. There's lots of fun stuff happening there. If you're not following the channel, you're missing out on the absurdity of it all. And we'd love to see some of you up on this leaderboard and you have fun, interesting things. You have ideas. If you're annoyed about something, if you're excited about something, we love to hear about it. It's kind of a fun emergent thing that we're leaning into, and let's see where it goes. Deeply appreciate you all for hanging out with us so consistently here. It's been incredible to see the live stream viewers grow, the overall viewers on our YouTube channel grow, etc. Do not take that attention for granted. We have a lot more fun stuff planned here. And look forward to seeing you on the internet and back here again next Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific time.